So what if your network could actually learn, adapt, and even heal itself? I'm not talking about static scripts, but real evolving intelligence. That's the promise of a truly autonomous network. And the key to unlocking it? It isn't just machine learning, it's MLOps. Today, we're diving into how MLOps is about to completely transform the world of network engineering and your place in it.
All right, let's get into it. Here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about why we even need this new approach. Then, we'll get crystal clear on the difference between machine learning and MLOps. After that, we'll stack MLOps up against the network automation you already know and love, lay out a skills roadmap, check out some top-tier tools, and wrap up with what all this means for your career.
Okay, so let's set the stage here. We are stepping into a brand new frontier for networking. I mean, the complexity of our environments is just exploding, right? You've got 5G, the explosion of IoT devices, edge computing. The old ways of doing things, well, they're really starting to hit a wall. I want you to really think about this for a second. Is your network growing faster than your ability to manage it? For decades, we've leaned on the CLI, on our trusty Python scripts. And look, that served us well. But we are hitting a point, a functional limit, where the sheer scale and the dynamic nature of the network is just too much for a human to handle, even with a good script.
This is where the solution starts to come into focus. Now, machine learning seems like the obvious answer to handle all this complexity. But here's the catch. Just building an ML model, that's not enough. In fact, it actually creates a whole new set of problems. This is all about making that leap from a cool science experiment to a reliable industrial-grade assembly line.
All right, let's do a quick level set. At its heart, machine learning is all about using algorithms to find patterns in data to make predictions. Now, in our world, in networking, this is incredibly powerful. Think about it. You could use ML to spot a tiny configuration anomaly that a human would just scroll right past, or predict a BGP route flap before it even thinks about causing an outage. It could even see an SLA degradation come in by analyzing thousands of real-time telemetry points before a single user complains.
But, and this is a big but, here's the classic problem. You've got a data scientist, they're in their perfect lab environment building this amazing model. Then what happens? They basically zip it up and just throw it over the wall to a network engineer to deploy. This brittle handoff is a complete recipe for disaster. The production network is messy, the data is always changing, and that beautiful model that worked in the lab just silently fails in the real world. It's a huge source of hidden technical debt.
And that is exactly where MLOps comes in. It's the solution to that handoff problem. It stands for Machine Learning Operations, and it basically blends ML, DevOps, and data engineering all into one discipline. The key takeaway is this. MLOps isn't about building the model itself. It's about building the automated factory, the assembly line, that can reliably build, test, deploy, monitor, and retrain that model at scale again and again.
This slide just lays it all out so clearly. With ML, the goal is just to build an accurate model. It's a static file. With MLOps, the goal is to operate that model reliably in production, treating the whole thing as a system that's always getting better. Think of it this way. If machine learning is designing a Formula One engine, MLOps is building the car around it, the factory that pumps out those cars, and the pit crew that keeps it running race after race.
Now, I know a lot of you are deep in the network automation world, so you're probably asking, okay, but how is this any different from what I already do? And that is the perfect question, because MLOps isn't here to replace network automation, it's the next step in its evolution. This table really shows the shift in mindset. Our traditional automation is mostly imperative. It's driven by rules we define. We write a script that says, do this exact thing. MLOps, on the other hand, is all about being data-driven and adaptive. It's more declarative. It says, achieve this outcome and learn from the network data how to best do it. The goal literally shifts from just being efficient to becoming truly autonomous.
Okay, that all sounds fantastic, in theory, right? But how do you actually get from here to there? Let's talk about a practical roadmap, and you'll see how this builds on the skills you probably already have. This is all about giving you a clear path forward.
First things first, let's just bust a huge myth right now. You do not need to become a data scientist to be great at MLOps. The reality is, MLOps is mostly an engineering and an infrastructure challenge. It's about building robust, automated systems. Your deep understanding of networks and how infrastructure works, that's the perfect foundation to build on.
So the journey begins with solid fundamentals. This isn't just about simple scripts anymore. It's about mastering Python and its key data libraries like Pandas and NumPy. It means doubling down on your infrastructure as code skills. You're probably already using Ansible and Git to automate configs. MLOps just applies that exact same discipline to the entire ML system. And that is why Git becomes absolutely non-negotiable, not just for code, but for versioning data, configs, and even the models themselves.
The next layer up is the MLOps stack. You know, containerization with Docker and orchestration with Kubernetes, these are mandatory. They're the bedrock for deploying models in a way that's both portable and scalable. You also need to learn the language of ML, just the core concepts like training, inference, and model drift. You don't need a PhD, you just need to speak the language. And finally, you take your CI/CD knowledge and apply it here, using tools like GitHub Actions to automate that whole end-to-end pipeline.
Okay, so we know the skills. What about the tools? The MLOps ecosystem is huge, but let's look at a few of the essential and often open-source tools that you can start playing with today to build out your toolkit.
Let's just walk through a typical workflow. First, to version your data and your models, you'd use something like DVC, which plugs right into Git. Then, to track all your experiments so you can reproduce any result, a tool like MLflow is an absolute must. For running the whole complex pipeline, you'll want an orchestrator like Kubeflow or Prefect. When it's go time, a tool like Bento ML can package your model into a neat little API. And finally, once it's live, you have to monitor it for performance issues using a library like Evidently AI.
So we've covered the what, the why, and the how. Let's bring it all home and talk about what this means for you and your career. This isn't just about learning a new, shiny object. It's about future-proofing your role in an industry that is changing incredibly fast.
And the opportunity is just massive. I mean, check this out. According to the World Economic Forum, demand for AI and machine learning specialists is set to grow by a staggering 40% through 2027. By building these MLOps skills, you are putting yourself directly in the path of one of the fastest-growing, highest-demand areas in all of tech.
So if you walk away with anything today, I want it to be these 4 things. 1. MLOps is the production assembly line for ML in your network. 2. It evolves your automation from static rules to truly adaptive systems. 3. And this is crucial, this is an engineering challenge that plays directly to your strengths as a network engineer. And 4, most importantly, you can start building these skills on the foundation you already have, right now.
And that leads us to the final, critical point. Your network is fundamentally changing. It's getting smarter, more complex, and way more autonomous. The only real question left is, are you evolving with it? Look, we've only scratched the surface today. In future explainers, we're going to go deeper into specific tools and concepts. So if you want to keep going on this journey, make sure you subscribe. We've covered a ton of ground, and I really hope this gives you a clear map for the road ahead. Thanks for joining me.